The last tenant of room 6. If you ever wake up in a hotel room and feel someone standing beside your bed, don't open your eyes, because sometimes the worst thing isn't what you see, it's what sees you. In 2018, just outside a quiet highway town in the Midwest of the United States, there was a modest roadside boutique hotel called Sunrise Lodge. Not the kind of place that makes headlines. 2 floors, 20 rooms, soft beige walls, clean marble reception, steady Wi-Fi, friendly staff. The kind of place travelers stop for one night and forget by morning. Until room 6. The case was never officially classified as a homicide. It was never ruled a disappearance either. It was simply labelled unresolved. But if you study unsolved cases long enough, from the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles, to the Hinterkaifeck farmhouse murders in Germany, to the strange vanishing cases connected to isolated lodges in Canada, you start to recognize a pattern. Certain places don't just host crimes, they absorb them, and sometimes they repeat them. The Hotel Sunrise Lodge sat beside a long stretch of highway where truckers, business travelers, and university students frequently stopped overnight. It wasn't luxurious, but it was modern, owned by Margaret Whitmore, a woman in her late 50s who had run the place for nearly 15 years without scandal, until the complaint started. Room 6 was at the far end of the ground floor corridor, slightly larger than the others, one window facing a fenced service alley, an older ceiling fan that made a faint clicking sound when rotating. Nothing extraordinary, at least not at first. Staff disliked cleaning it alone, not because of ghosts, but because of sound. Late at night, when the hallway was silent, guests reported dragging noises, soft tapping on the walls, and once, a whisper. Management blamed plumbing, they blamed rats, they blamed imagination, they always blamed something normal. Until the first tenant left at 2 a.m. The first tenant, Daniel Carter. Anil Carter was a travelling sales representative, 38, married, no history of mental illness. He checked into room 6 for 4 nights. He stayed 2. At 2:14 a.m., security footage shows Daniel sprinting down the corridor barefoot. His hands were shaking so violently he could barely hold the reception counter. He asked one question: "Who entered my room?" The receptionist, Ethan Brooks, insisted no one had. Keycard logs showed no entry. Cameras showed no one entering the corridor. Daniel insisted he woke up because he felt breath, not loud, not close, but deliberate, slow, measured, as if someone was standing still beside his bed, watching. When he turned on the light, the wardrobe door was open. He was certain he had closed it. He checked out before sunrise. He refused a refund. He just wanted to leave. When housekeeping entered later that morning, they found something management would quietly repair. Inside the wardrobe, carved deep into the wooden panel, were long vertical scratches. Not random, not animal-like, 4 parallel lines, repeated over and over, like someone had tried to claw their way out. Margaret Whitmore ordered it sanded and replaced. No report was filed, because sometimes it's cheaper to fix wood than fix reputation. The second tenant, Emily Hart. 3 months passed before anyone booked room 6 again. Emily Hart was a university graduate student preparing for her finals. 22. Bright, calm, rational. She chose Sunrise Lodge because it was quiet. For the first few nights, she complained about small things. The fan stopping at exactly 1 a.m., the bathroom light flickering, footsteps outside her door that stopped when she approached. Then the complaints changed. She began asking staff questions that made them uncomfortable. "Has anyone died here? Who stayed in my room before me? Why do I hear crying in the bathroom? Her sleep deteriorated. She kept the television on all night. Security footage shows her opening her door at 1:03 a.m. 3 consecutive nights, looking down an empty hallway. On the 10th night, she told Ethan something specific. Every night at 1:17 a.m., someone knocked 3 times, slowly, evenly spaced. When she opened the door, no one was there. But when she turned back toward her bed, the bathroom door would be open. She was certain she had closed it. 3 days later, Emily left abruptly. She forgot one item, a spiral notebook. On the final page, written repeatedly in heavy pen pressure, "Don't turn off the light," over and over and over. Psychologists later said sleep deprivation can cause paranoia, but sleep deprivation doesn't open doors and it doesn't carve wood. 5 months of silence. Room 6 remained vacant for 5 months. Margaret repainted it, replaced the fan, installed a new mirror. She was determined to prove nothing was wrong until a man named Adrian Wells checked in. The last tenant, Adrian Wells, 36 years old, paid cash for a 1-month stay, minimal luggage, no social media presence, no listed emergency contact. Said he worked remotely in data analysis. Adrian was quiet, polite, avoided eye contact, left his room only at night. After 2 weeks, neighbouring guests reported hearing conversation from inside room 6. Not phone calls, 2 voices, arguing, whispering, laughing. When staff asked Adrian if he had visitors, he calmly replied, "I prefer to work alone." Then came October 14th. 1:17 a.m. the power went out. The backup generator failed for nearly 3 minutes. The hallway plunged into darkness. Then the banging started, violent, rhythmic, from inside room 6. Staff ran downstairs. When Adrian opened the door, he was drenched in sweat, his face pale. Inside the room, every mirror had been turned to face the wall. When asked why, he said quietly, "They move when the lights go out." Management assumed stress or delusion, but 2 nights later, Adrian made a final request. He walked to reception at 11:58 p.m., placed cash on the counter, and said, "If anything happens tonight, don't open the door until morning." He wasn't joking. He wasn't smiling. He continued, "No matter what you hear, no matter who calls your name." When Ethan asked why, Adrian leaned closer and whispered, "Because it pretends." The disappearance. At 2:43 a.m., multiple guests reported screaming from room 6. Not one scream, several, then silence. Staff gathered outside the door. Someone suggested breaking it down. Ethan remembered the warning. They waited. At sunrise, they opened the door. The room was empty. Bed, undisturbed. No blood. No forced entry. Adrian's suitcase was gone. On the bedside table was a note. "It knows when you leave. The investigation begins." Police initially suspected voluntary disappearance until they checked something unusual. Adrian Wells did not exist. The name was false. The ID was fake. Fingerprints lifted from the room did not match any federal database. But here's where the case escalated. 2 weeks later, 300 miles away, a body was found in an abandoned storage facility. No identification. Deep scratch marks on the inside of the metal door. 4 parallel lines. Repeated. Investigators compared photos from Sunrise Lodge. The pattern matched. Exactly. But there was no DNA linking the 2 locations. No CCTV. No phone records. Nothing. Except one disturbing detail. Security footage from Sunrise Lodge showed something that was never released publicly. At 2:41 a.m., 2 minutes before the screaming, Room six's door opened and closed, but no one walked out. No one visible entered the corridor. The door simply opened and shut. 3 months later, Margaret Whitmore sold Sunrise Lodge. New management reopened Room 6 after renovations, fresh paint, new mirrors, new locks. 3 days after a new guest checked in. The front desk phone rang, caller ID, Room 6. The receptionist answered. Static filled the line, then a whisper. The light went off. The voice matched the recording police had from Adrian Wells. The problem: the power had never gone out, and the new guest was found standing outside his room, staring at the door, saying he had never made a phone call. And that's when investigators discovered something hidden behind the drywall of Room 6. Something that linked Sunrise Lodge to 3 missing persons cases across 2 states. But that is where part 2 begins.